Is the Huawei P30 Pro a good enough camera to use 100% of the time for vlogging? Can it replace a Canon M50, a true vlogging camera? Let's find out. Right, so the question that I want to answer in this video is, can I use a smartphone 100% all of the time for vlogging? Before this year, I would have said no, but this P30 Pro camera is so good that it's made me ask the question. I've got a Canon M50, which I think is one of the best cameras for vlogging you can get, and the P30 Pro is going to go head to head because of the new camera that the P30 has, that you can zoom in and out from an ultra wide angle all the way into 50 times zoom. Now we have the functionality of the lens that you previously couldn't get. So let's put these two cameras up against each other and see what the video is like and see how the functionality of the P30 Pro is. Let's see if I can vlog using that camera and ditch the bigger Canon, or will the Canon still be the best? Also, sorry about the glasses and the hat, but it's hot, it's Asia. This pale English skin just can't handle it. So let's get on with it. I just want to test the colors on both of these cameras to start off with, and also just show you the zoom on this P30 Pro. So the one on the left is the Canon, the Huawei is on the right. I think the Canon colors just look a bit more natural, whereas the Huawei's, the greens are just really poppy and vibrant, but definitely not real to life. I think the Canon's image looks more natural, but something that you get out of the P30 Pro is this zoom. This is from a smartphone camera, and the Canon is all the way zoomed in. That's it, you can't change it, but this Huawei just keeps on going. This is 15 times zoom for video. If you're taking photos, you can go all the way into 50 times zoom. This is incredible. This is from a smartphone, and you just get a lot more functionality. Not that you will use it when you're vlogging, but it's just good to see what you can do with the phone that you can't do with the camera. If we just zoom out to the wide shot, I just think the Canon looks more natural. Huawei looks a bit more fake, but you just get so much more zoom out of the Huawei. Not that zooming in 15 times is particularly important when you're vlogging, but here's the thing, the functionality exists. Actually, what's more important on the Huawei is something 2019 phones have a lot. It's the ultra wide camera. That is really important when you're vlogging, because you can use it to get so much more in the shot. And when you're doing stuff like this, the camera, an ultra wide camera is really useful. This is the widest that this lens goes on the Canon. If you want to use a wider shot, you're gonna have to change lenses, and that is just super irritating. Like, I'm gonna have to basically get this lens out of my bag. Then, like, I'm gonna have to take this lens off the camera, which, like, where am I gonna put this now? I haven't got a lens cap. I don't want to put it on the floor. Anyway, I'm not even gonna bother going on about it. Obviously, you know that using a smartphone is just so much more convenient than this. But what advantages does having a bigger camera with a lens bring us over the Huawei? Let's just see how the image stabilization is on these two cameras, because a criticism of the Huawei a lot of the time is that the video is nowhere near as good as the photos out of this thing. But I don't really want to look at too many photos, because this video is about vlogging or shooting video. If you can just use your smartphone to shoot video, or you have to have a camera. I don't really think that the stabilization out of the M range from Canon is even amazing. So it'll be interesting to see what the difference is between the Huawei and this one. Also, just have a look at the image. The sky, I'm a little bit worried on the Canon, is maybe blown out a little bit, because it will probably be trying to focus on people and exposing them properly. It's a really, really bright day today, so the sky might be blown out a bit. And the Huawei is probably using HDR for video, so it will probably be exposing everything really, really well. I'm using the main camera on the Huawei just to make it fair, because I don't have the wide angle lens on the Canon. The wider you go, the easier it should be for stabilization. The more zoomed in you get, it should be a little bit harder to stabilize. But they both look really good. The Canon, what I'm looking at, looks really, really level, whereas the Huawei looks a little bit shaky. But you probably won't be filming too much this way if you are vlogging, but it's just interesting to see anyway. I really like using the wide angle of the Huawei. If I just zoom out, there you can see it probably looks a lot smoother, and it's something you can change to really, really quickly because you don't need to change lenses. Whereas on the M50 you can zoom in, but this is as far wide as it goes, so you get a little bit more functionality out of the Huawei. If we zoom in on the Huawei, maybe that's 2 times, try and get the same on the Canon, and then maybe go to 5 times on the Huawei, you'll see that the quality goes down a little bit and it gets a lot shakier. But I would say that it's probably still usable. On the Canon, this is as zoomed in as it gets, unfortunately. If we try and go all the way in on the Huawei, you can see it gets pretty shaky. But I think if you had a tripod or something, you could make it work. So you can see that the Canon is maybe losing a little bit of detail in the sky, whereas the Huawei keeps a lot. And that's because the Huawei is using HDR for video. This is what I mean by HDR video. So on the Canon you can see that I am exposed really well. But look at that background, you cannot see anything whatsoever there because I've had to push the exposure up. It's really dark where I'm filming, so to expose myself well, I have to push the exposure up, which means the background is totally and utterly overblown, completely unusable. You can't see anything going on. Whereas the Huawei seems to expose the image a little bit better. What the Huawei does is take a low exposure image and a high exposure image, put them together in one video, and so you get a better exposed image. That's really important for vlogging because you just haven't got time to keep exposing images differently, keep playing with ISO. Having it on auto still doesn't work. I had to manually expose the Canon because it just wouldn't focus on my face and expose me properly. The Huawei auto settings just seem to be better than the auto settings on the Canon. Just another test for B-roll if you want to get B-roll while you're vlogging. I think the colors on the Canon just look so good here, so natural. Whereas the Huawei, it just looks a little bit too punchy and too overexposed in a lot of areas. The colors just aren't as deep and aren't as rich as the Canons. The Canon wins hands down here for me. This is just way too red on the Huawei. How red is that fire hydrant? And again here, I think the Canon gives a richer image. It's only easy to tell them apart when you're looking at them side by side, but if you saw one of these images just on its own, you probably wouldn't even notice that anything was bad about it. It's only when you compare one against the other that you can say you like one of them more than the other. Alright, so if you want to use the Huawei for vlogging or taking pictures, you're not going to be in the park all day. So how is this thing for taking pictures inside? Because if you're going to be in a restaurant, you're going to be in low light, taking pictures of food, and actually the Huawei has lots of AI modes that you can use to take photos of food and other things, and it's really good in low light. So let's just have a look at some pictures that you would maybe take if you want to put them on Instagram or something like that. This is the Canon, and again, I think it's a good picture. This is aperture mode on the Huawei, and it gives that really cool blurry background effect, which I think is a pretty cool look. The colors on the P30 Pro here are a little bit washed out, and it doesn't really look that great. I'm not really sure what happened. The Canon's, on the other hand, looks really great. It's natural, it's got natural depth and great colors. Again, on the Canon, naturally great colors, natural depth. The P30 Pro recognized that this was food when I was taking it using AI, so it upped the saturation on the image. I think it just looks a little bit too saturated and poppy for my liking. Because the Huawei has a wide angle camera on the back, that's the one I usually use to film myself, because I can be in shot, it's no problem, and the quality is much better. I'm using the selfie camera on it now, which you might want to use when you're vlogging just to check that you're in the shot or just to check exposure. The selfie camera quality goes down a lot, and there's just this look that you get from a smartphone that just isn't as rich, isn't as natural as the Canon. When you use a Canon, you get these colors and it just makes your skin look better, makes you look better. There's just a really nice look about it. It's why movies look better off movie cameras. You get this sort of fake, over sharpened look from the Huawei, especially the selfie camera. It just doesn't look as rich as the Canon, so that's definitely a downside. But overall, I would say the P30 Pro with the zoom functionality, the video stabilization, the quality of the video, it's just hard to look past as a vlogging camera. It's always with you, and the quality now is good enough to use in a lot of your vlogging shots.